Hello, hello. I think that we are live. I always give it a few seconds just in case. It probably seems kind of weird where I'm just staring into the camera for 5 seconds, but in case there's a delay, I don't say anything to start with, but I think that we are live. So guys, thank you very much for joining me here tonight. Brad, the Comeback Card Investor, if you are watching, you are uninvited, so please leave immediately. I have got a special guest on tonight, Dakota from Sportcards Anonymous. First time that he has been on my station. I was on his station a couple of weeks ago. So I'm excited to talk to him. I'm really enjoying his channel. We're just going to talk about sports. Of course, we're going to talk about sports cards, maybe other types of collectibles, and we'll just kind of dig in and see where it goes. We'll talk to the chat as well. So guys, thank you very much for joining. I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in and bring Dakota on. What's up, man?
Hello, what's up, Dustin? What's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all being here tonight. Dustin, thanks so much for having me over on your channel.
Absolutely. I feel like I need to upgrade I've got these blue lights that I don't use behind me on the live streams. I need to, I'm just looking at your lighting. I need to work on my live stream lighting a little bit better.
Yeah.
I put up a picture on this back wall. It's just, so it's basically just like the story of football. It's like a leather football on the picture. It's the same color as the wall. So I don't know if that was a great choice, but yeah, Dakota wore his purple shirt just for tonight.
Purple shirt. Yep. Yeah. I'm, big purple shirt believer, big fan of the purple shirt. So
I went with my Blades of Steel NES, original NES.
All right. Shirt. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I'm going with some nostalgia per usual. So yeah, let's start there actually. So kind of the how did you get into cards thing, but then also what types of things did you collect? Was it just sports cards? Did you get into any other things? Did you have Pogs and Pokemon and Beanie Babies and all the other stuff? Or was it just cards mainly?
Sure. So yeah, I trail you by about a decade, right? I'm 30. I just turned 30 earlier this year.
Okay.
And so I started collecting. You started in 89. I started in 99.
Okay.
I played football. I started playing football in second grade. It's like 98, 99. And my best friend, I found on that team, I started hanging out with him and his dad a lot, and they loved sports cards. And so that's how I got into it. And we had a local shop we'd go to all the time. I remember buying and ripping a lot of 99 packs. It's all football. It was football, centered. The first card I ever really started chasing was Kurt Warner, Bowman Best. I loved that card. 99's his rookie. And 99's his magical season, one of the most magic seasons in NFL history. And the first player I was really chasing was Ricky Williams, again, out of that 99 draft class. So, yeah, I started in 99. And it's funny, too, when you talk about, starting, because I started in football. I think, unfortunately, I didn't go to basketball. And I think a big reason for that was because there was 2 years on the card. And I felt like it was hard to understand, what card am I supposed to buy? Then you just had Beckett. You couldn't go on eBay and figure out what the rookie card was and all this stuff. And then similarly with baseball, I felt like it was weird because you had guys, Barry Bonds rookie years is 1986 to 1987. I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't understand. Which one is his rookie? And so I think for those reasons, I mostly stuck to football. I did grow into baseball. My favorite team is the Houston Astros. And then eventually I grew into basketball at some point too. So yeah, that's how I got started. Oh, and as far as what I collected, so yeah, that was the sports cards, but you can see some Pokemon back here. I actually just got all three Evolution starters, so Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur from the base set. I do collect Pokemon to a much smaller scale, that's really just collecting, no flipping. And then over the years, I played Yu-Gi-Oh when I was young, and then I played Magic a little bit, but not too much collecting. It's really only been that stuff. I have some video game stuff that I don't even want to say I collected.
I see a Super Nintendo back there.
Yeah, it's a Super Nintendo and N64. I can't even say I collected it. I just kind of, that was mine growing up. And it was I played a lot of video games growing up. It's just kind of part of my history, my childhood. So those stick around.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you brought a little bit of a tear to my eye when you talked about Ricky Williams. That draft, that was the infamous draft where the Saints traded their entire draft, no joke. And actually, it was even worse than that. They traded their entire draft, and then I think it was their first or second round pick of the following season as well. And the sad part is, as a Saints fan, you just want something to be excited about. I actually was excited about it, even though they gave up so much. It was just cool to have kind of a big name player coming in, and he was a top pick. So sadly, that even though that was probably the worst, decision ever, but whatever. I mean, it was Mike Ditka doing his thing.
Yeah, Ditka. There you go.
Yeah, what's funny is you mentioned I should have got into basketball in 99. And it's like the same story in 89. Like in 89, everyone was collecting baseball cards and really everyone should have been on basketball and football cards. 86 Fleer was fairly easy to get. I mean, I'm not going to say that it was super cheap in 89 because it did kind of, especially with Michael Jordan coming in and there was momentum. They weren't giving away Michael Jordan rookie cards back then, but it was still way more available than today. I mean, it was still out there, the packs and the boxes and stuff.
Yeah, when I was in high school, so like 08, 07, I bought a Kobe base Topps rookie for $16. Got it graded, PSA 9, sold it for $450. Thought I was stealing from folks. Little did I know that was going to be a $1,200 card, but hey, what are you going to do?
All right, I'm going to say hello to the peeps in the chat real quick. We got Brian Sherlin, go Phoenix Suns. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a Suns fan, but I'm a root for the underdog guy, and I'm excited to see. I'm just hoping that the team out of the West can knock off the Nets. That's kind of where and it's not because I dislike the Nets. I just want to see a young team, come out of the woodwork and win a championship. I think that would be awesome for the NBA and for the fans and for everything else. So, all right, let's go Suns, Brian. Troy, good to see you, buddy. Ziggy, thanks for being here. Base card collector, what's up? Paul, how you doing? Yep, the purple pimp shirt is happening tonight. New collector only on Fridays for the is that usually a Friday shirt?
This is my party shirt, new, so I won't wear this shirt if I'm hosting someone. I got to be professional. When I go on someone else's channel, I'll do what the hell I want. So,
hey, Michael, good to see you. Dakota's a nice guy. So much of a better guest than that Thursday guy. Yeah, like I said, Brad, if you're watching, you're probably not. You're probably staring at like your Tom Brady poster, just wondering what to do with your life. But please tune out. You're not invited. Alex, good to see you, my man. Cards, Guns, Collectibles. I used to buy 86 Fleer packs at a Bonanza 88-cent store. I know Flipping Steve was also saying the same thing. He would go to the drugstore and literally like 86 Fleer basketball was rampant. It was out there, and he used to rip those packs back in the day.
That's wild.
Brett, good to see you. My guy Ryan, how's it going, Ryan? Good to see you. Ryan is the I had him on a couple of weeks ago. Ryan is the vintage card wizard. I go to him with all of the vintage questions I've got. He's a sea of knowledge. So thanks for joining, Ryan. Yo, Devin Booker and the Suns. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. Kyrie stepped on the Boston logo, so Nets have to be stopped at all costs. That's right. I know. That's the thing with the Nets. It's like it's like rooting for Isaiah's Detroit Pistons, in the late 80s. It's like who's really going for them? Like who's really pulling for them outside of guys that have Kevin Durant rookies and
that's
Chrome rookies. Yeah. It's like that's pretty much it.
Rookies.
They're not likable. I'm sorry, but yeah, good to see you, Peter.
Thanks,
Dominic.
Peter.
All right. Sig, thoughts on 2000 Brady Topps Chrome rookie and a PSA 10? I bought 3 of them last year. Should I sell? I'll be honest with you, man. I don't give any sort of like individual card. I know there's there's guys that are really good with that. I don't give any sort of anything because I'm more of like, I think I'm more of a long-term investor / collector. Like with my Brady stuff, I'm probably just going to hold on to it. So I guess my only thing I would say is sometimes I'll buy multiple, like what you said, so that I can sell one if there's an opportunity where it's like, okay, maybe I can sell one of these off. I mean, I don't know, Dakota, do you have a take on that one?
I mean, look, what's Brady rookie going to do? I don't know. But, if you bought 3 of them, you can sell one and get all your money back selling the one. For me, that would be hard to pass up because then, you're free rolling the other 2 and you got a little bit more cash on hand in a down market. It's a good time to have cash on hand.
Diamond hands, Brady. I like this. Sell after you die, no sooner. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So I heard that you're in the middle of a move, and then I saw in your other video you were dealing with a house thing.
Oh my goodness. It's been a stressful week. I had a great weekend planned, 3 days, full on Houston show, which I love the Houston show. Had to cut it early. I was only there for half a day, really. Came home. We had some flooding in the house through the electrical box. It was really strange, really weird, poor engineering designed by somebody. We got it fixed, though. We should close on the sale on Thursday. I'll be a much happier person once we're through that. But we won't move. This will be the same for about the next couple of weeks. We don't move till the end of the month. So
nice. I'm actually heading down. My grandfather is turning 90. He's in Florida. So we're going to drive down there for literally like 3 days. Just like drive in, drive out. A bunch of family is going to show up. So that'll be interesting. I hope I know. I saw that Tuesday. I know. I was talking to him before we came on, Ziggy. Dakota's going to be a dad. Life-changing event, man. It's one of those things where people are like, yeah, I know. It's like, no, you don't really know until it's here. It's like smack you in the face type change, but it's awesome. It's like, it's amazing. So congrats to you on fatherhood.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, the move in large part is because of the baby. And I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, you hit it nail on. I'm not even a father yet, but 4 months ago, I felt much less like one, and now more and more, it feels more like, oh, this is real and this is going to be fun. So I'm excited.
Good stuff. What did you think about? I watched your video. You went to a card show this past weekend.
Yeah, it was the Houston show. That was this weekend. Yeah.
Was that the first show you had been at in a while?
Or no, I went to the first Dallas show post-COVID, and I went to the Dallas show in January. I was going to go to the one in May, but I could. That's when we started.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot that you're pretty local there. Okay, yeah. Cool. So, how did you like this past show that you were at? And I know that you had mentioned that it was kind of cut short. You weren't able to kind of do your usual deal, but was it a positive experience? Like, what'd you like? What'd you dislike?
Yeah, so a couple things. I knew I had a strong sense going in. It was going to be a lot less high end than Dallas. I think Dallas has become very much a very content creating show, right? And so I think you have a lot of people going there for the content. Houston, I knew wouldn't get that buzz, but Houston, prior to COVID, was consistently the second or third largest show in the nation. You had the National, of course, and then TriStar puts on two shows, one in San Francisco and one in Houston. San Francisco is usually bigger than Houston. So, and the Houston's put on twice a year. So since about 2000, twice a year, I've been going to this really large show that was in my backyard, So I was really excited to go, kind of a homecoming for me. That's why I was excited about it. But anyway, I knew it was going to be a lot less high-end stuff. And that I was right on that, but it was still good buzz, good vibes, people willing to move some cards, low dollar stuff. I was as I got into it, I realized this is where the money's to be made. And I've actually already made some money on low dollar stuff, just buying there and already selling on eBay. The biggest thing I had issues with, so everyone making content, yourself included in the Dallas show, talked about everyone's looking to trade. Well, a lot of the guys who are at the Houston show are more card shop owners than kind of like, the people like us doing this on the side as a side hustle. And I feel like they were way less willing to trade, and they were nowhere near comps when you're talking prices. The one I talked about in my video was I walked up to a guy, he had a PSA 10 Acuna Topps Chrome rookie, the flagship Topps Chrome. And I was like, how much? I know comps on that card is about 285, 275. He said 500. I just walked away. I mean, this is ridiculous. You're out of your mind. You want to come in a little high, 300. I get that. But 500, you don't know what you're doing. Stop it. Not worth my time.
That's how it was in 1989, except there was no way to get comps. It was like, actually, we got now from what I've heard and seen, it's like the youth are savvy. Like they are not getting, they're like doing their thing, and they're not having any sort of trouble. Man, back in the late 80s, early 90s, you were at the whim of the card shop, like whatever they wanted to charge, because you had no idea, the next town over, you might have cards that are, the same cards for less or whatever, but you had no way to quickly have that information. Yeah. So I think that's such an amazing advantage that we all have nowadays, regardless of age. It's just you can pretty easily get an idea of where price is on some stuff without having to really guess. Unless it's super rare or something and there's not a lot of comps on it. But you can also try to figure it out other ways too, make comparisons and stuff. I mean, that's one thing about the hobby now that I really like. So that was one thing I was going to ask, kind of like where we are right now with the hobby. And it's been kind of like a roller coaster where we've seen prices go up, prices go down. And what's the one thing that you're really enjoying about the hobby? And then the back end of that question is what's one thing you're really disliking about the hobby right now?
So again, 10 years you're younger, you grew up in the junk wax era. I grew up post junk wax, and I did a video on don't buy goats. And when I did that, I looked at historical trends, and I would call anecdotal, whatever I would call, from about 1995 to about 2018, I would call the dead era. I mean, it was just completely dead. Prices were completely flat, and it was awful. And so what I'm enjoying now is that's not happening, right? There's price jumps everywhere. There's a lot of money to be made here and there. If you stay on top of it, it is a game now, where before it was much less of a game. You had to prospect correctly, and if you didn't, you just lost, right? That's kind of how it went. What I don't like about it right now in this current market, I don't like that people are sitting on cards and not selling them, even though they want to sell them. They don't want to sell them at comps, and that's a little frustrating. Like if you go to a show and you go to a dealer and they're not willing to sell at comps, why do you have the card out there then? That's the price of the card. That's the price of the card.
Yeah, I agree with Ziggy here. This is so true because it was very easy to go and get packs and to acquire cards inexpensively. But then if you were going to trade out or sell those cards, you were basically trading with your friends, or you were selling them to a dealer for 10 cents, 20 cents on the dollar. They were, because they're running a business, they're having to then resell them, but you weren't getting, they weren't, and look, I wasn't operating on the high end of the market back in 89, where maybe it was, I don't know, 89 score Barry Sanders rookies or something that people were trying to trade out of or whatever. So maybe that stuff dealers were paying more money for, but I agree, Ziggy. That's kind of the big thing now, is you can very easily get in and out of cards. Not all cards, not, all the base cards or whatever, but even with base rookie cards now you can, and I don't really use Star Stock that much, but you can send those off to Star Stock, or you can send those off to ComC, and maybe you don't get much for them, but at least you have an outlet, to be able to sell them somewhere.
And even now with eBay standard envelope, that's where I spend a lot of my time at the card show, was looking at these $5 and $7 cards that I can sell for 14 to 15 on eBay, because I'll ship with eBay standard envelope. And that's pretty appealing to most people. I can price it $2 or $3 under anyone else because I'm using it and other people aren't for some reason. And so again, some quick flips on that stuff.
Is there something that you're excited about, kind of heading into the back end of this year? We've had card markets up and down, and I think it's fun however you slice it, but is there something that you're, maybe an innovation or a new company or anything, grading or whatever, that you're excited kind of on the back end of this year that you're thinking about?
Yeah, for me, there's two things when I think about, I really get excited about. One, I love custom and personalized slabs. I think that is awesome, because for the most part, when I'm sending cards off to get slabbed, I'm not really doing that to flip. Those are collection card pieces for me. So I'd much rather have a cool custom slab or case for it. And that's why I send all my stuff to SGC, one, because they're open, but two, because I do like the look of the slab. So I like my cards in an SGC slab, but custom slabs, super excited for. And I think there's a lot of innovation in that space. You talked about Pure Graded X, you have HGA, and HGA is even doing more custom slabbing now. There's an upcharge for a truly custom slab. So I really like custom slabbing. I think that's great for the hobby. And then the other thing is, I'm a bit of a data nerd, and I'm pretty excited about the data over the next 3 months. I'm dying to see what happens to prices when baseball comes back around in December. And I think that's going to give us I've said a lot on my channel. I think what happens in the playoffs is going to give us a lot of information. I still think we have a couple weeks to go before we really can determine what it means. But prices are falling. Yeah, but that also happened after the bubble last year. Prices fell. So will prices pick up again when the NBA season starts in December? And if it does, and I feel like we're not in this, we're just in this continual cycle, right, where it crashes and builds up. And but that's, from what we know, that has been the history of the sports card market.
What's your take on, I've talked a lot about it. I've heard some people that do agree with me, but others say that they think this is kind of overblown. But like I wouldn't call it a concern, but just kind of like the data that you mentioned, the data that I'm looking at as well is that PSA backlog. And when it all starts coming back to customers over the next couple of years, if we're talking about millions of cards coming back, where do they fall? I know a lot of it is in kind of that ultra modern type stuff, but with millions of cards, are they all ultra modern? Like there's got to be a fairly decent mix, I'm guessing here. I'm completely speculating, obviously, but what's your take on the PSA backlog? Do you think that's kind of overly talked about as a factor, or you think or not enough? Kind of what's your take on it?
So if you asked me this 2 days ago, I would have said it's overly talked about. I don't think it's going to play that big a deal because we don't know what the variety of cards in. I would have to guess it's skewed extremely ultra modern. But the more I've thought about and heard some people talk about this, I think what's going to be the biggest impact is people are going to have to pay for those. You pay on the back end. And so I think that's going to make those slabs highly liquid because they don't want to have to pay $1,000 for this, bulk inventory. When they sent it in, they thought they'd be getting $10,000 back. Now they're getting $6,000. They're going to be selling. I think people are going to be selling a lot of slabs to recoup those costs. And I think when that happens, prices will plummet. But it will be very short time. It would be a short time because the market's going to be flooded with people trying to sell. So, don't overreact and run out of the hobby. For me, I won't be running out of the hobby. I'll be looking to pick some stuff up.
Kind of on the back end of that grading question, what's your take on, the Gentleman addition, to PSA grading? I listened to Nat Turner talking about it on a couple of different interviews. And basically he said that that's not something that's going to be implemented tomorrow, but maybe on the back end of the year, they start using it. They're kind of playing around with it, and then they're, I assume that in 2022, you'll start seeing more of that sort of, those types of grades. Do you, how much of an effect do you think it has, if any, on new slabs, old slabs? Do you have a take on it?
Yeah. So I think overall, I think it's going to be good for the hobby. I've said on my channel a lot that, PSA is the clear king right now. That's just how it is. And we're trying to pick a second and third place. And for me, I don't want companies that overgrade or undergrade. I want them to grade accurately. And I think Gem Mint is going to allow that. It's going to allow accurate grading. It's going to allow, fingerprint collection, so they know what cards are in. Because when I look at like a Luca PSA 9 base Prism Pop report, that has to be significantly overstated because people resubbed. Has to be significantly overstated. And I would like to see that go away. Then as far as the actual, that card was graded by AI versus hand, a lot of people think that the AI cards are going to go for a lot more money. And I disagree with that sentiment. I understand the perspective that AI is more accurate. And so if it was a card that you wanted for your collection, you want to make sure that it's actual 10, that would be an actual 10. But I think there's going to be this old school collectability to, I would guess, older PSA labels and then older PSA grading methods. But who knows?
I thought this was a good take and kind of a segue here a little bit. One thing that we've seen over the last 12 months is major increase in wax prices for hobby boxes. Is this going to be, and I kind of wonder about this because it's always been kind of like buy sealed wax, hold it, resell it. Is this going to be the first time where people bought sealed wax at $2,000 and lose money on it, or have to wait years to recoup their money because they've just been paying so much more? I think it was Ziggy actually that said it. Hobby boxes used to be what, $200 two years ago, and now they're now they're $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever. They were a fraction of what they were. Do you have any take on the new product sealed wax stuff?
I think 2020 and 2021 basketball, the LaMelo year, I think that's going to be the year that's going to be the set that really starts to trend downward, where you could see where any given month that $1,000 may be high, right? At football, I have look. I hate Prism football. I hate Prism in general this year. I think it was horribly designed, but Prism football specifically, I mean, you have the quarterbacks, and that I think that's going to say, like, if three of these quarterbacks are legitimate NFL, Pro Bowl conversation quarterbacks, Herbert, Burrow, Tua, or someone else down the line, if it pans out that way, that's going to save the product. And the same thing for the next year, in my opinion. Trevor Lawrence, otherworldly prospect, I think he'll save the product. But in general, I do think we will start to see that, people are pushing back. And to your credit, you predicted this, that Prism Panini was going to release the boxes at a price and it was going to go under that, and you were right that did happen. And I think that's proof in the pudding that they overestimated. And it's funny to me, sell the hobby at a more reasonable price, $1,000, because I think they were trying for $4,000 at first for the basketball. I mean, I might be wrong. And then up the retail. I don't know why they won't up retail prices. Up it to $60. That's what we're paying aftermarket anyway. Get rid of these flippers in between us and let us just buy retail, at market rate. I don't understand why they won't do that.
It's kind of interesting. I was just thinking while you were talking about it, because Nike does something similar with like Air Jordans, and I could be wrong because I'm not working in, I don't operate in the sneaker market at all, but I don't think that Nike does Dutch auctions for new Jordans. I think that they just release it out into the wild, and they're counting on that fervor, that excitement to help sell all their other stuff. It's a branding thing. They want their brand to be out in the news, for the Jordans or for the Kobe's or for whatever shoe it is, and kind of hoping that carries over. Are you a sneaker collector at all, or do you know anything about that?
A little bit. I do a little bit of sneaker flipping on the side. Flipper at heart here. I grew up in a flipping neighborhood, I guess. So, yeah. So, I mean, you're right. They do just release them. That's how it works. And, people line up and they sell them out. And I'm sure their margins are great. I'm sure Panini's margins are great. But why do a Dutch auction on hobby? Just set the price, up the price of retail. It's $60 a box. I still won't be able to go and consistently buy retail. Like, I won't. It's still going to sell out because there's that much demand for it. but at least you kind of get rid of the flippers buying it to flip because there's not enough meat left on the bone. But I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And it's one thing too, when you go, when you go Dutch auction, you start at 400 or $4,000 and you move downward, it's like, you're really trying to capture all of that secondary market. Like it's not like you're trying to catch a little bit of it. You're trying to catch all of it. There's nothing left,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you were just talking about football. You're Houston Texans fans, right? Is that right?
Yep.
All right. You're like, damn it, sore subject. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, so, you and Brad both want to talk about the Texans. No, don't buy Deshaun Watson. It's easy.
Well, the reason why, well, we all know why Brad wants to talk about the Texans, but he's kind of hoping that gets figured out. Do you have like, I mean, obviously from what I've seen, there, like as far as Deshaun Watson goes, there's not really anything new in the news. They're still trying to work things out or whatever. I haven't heard anything new on it anyway. But are you hoping that they can figure out how to trade, him, or do you hope that it does work out for Watson in Houston?
So let me say two things. Well, three things. First, hello to Flipping Steve. I see him in the chat there. The Flipping King has arrived. So and two, so I've been on internet blogs for a long time when it comes to Houston sports. It's how I learned baseball. It's how I learned a lot about football. And my football blog, is a Texans site, and pretty well connected in that site, and these folks are pretty well connected. There's some folks on there pretty well connected in the legal system in Houston. So I've had some insight to this for a long time, and that's why I was never touching Deshaun Watson. I mean, so he's got his trial set in, or it's not the trial, it's the first. It's before that. I'm not a legal person, but it's set for February. So what that means is the league is going to have to make a decision: can he or can he not play this year? Right. And if he can, I think he's forced to play for the Texans. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. The question is, will the Texans even play him? I don't know. I mean, so I don't know what's going to happen there. As a fan, what I would like to see happen, just move off of him. Just give me some draft picks. Let's start this rebuild. Let's blow it up and let's go. But I don't know. I like a challenge, I guess. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that the trial was February because conveniently, that's right at the end of the season. So it's like. I feel like that happens with football players, where it's like the trial is in March. It's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I guess, and the league might say, well, it's pending. So we're just not going to do anything until we have something concrete. They could very easily do that. Or you're right. They could say he's suspended for 8 games or something, or 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Both sides from a legal standpoint have made it very hard to come to a settlement. They've made it very hard to come to a settlement. And I think that is not in Deshaun's favor. I mean, it's 22 women still on this lawsuit. And a lot of people talk about Vic and they're fighting dogs and talk about Roethlisberger and his 3 items, his 3 occurrences, and Kobe and his 1. It's not 22. That's not 22. 22 is such a huge number. And so I don't know. I think that if this goes down, it goes to court and they do find them. I don't know if they find you guilty in a civil suit, but if they award the plaintiffs the damages, I think the NFL has to consider a multiple year, suspension. I think it has to be considered. I know a lot of people, Brad included, thinks 4 or 6 games, from the start of this season is the minimum. I really think there's a strong possibility he doesn't play for 2 years. Now, him going to court for the first time in February, that makes it a little, maybe he plays this year. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That is a little bit weird, but I do think, if he's found guilty for any of this, I think it's going to be maybe a year suspension. And also, last thing, it's a much different time. People cite Roethlisberger and Kobe. That's 04, 05, 06.
Right.
It's a much different time that we live in. Even Mike Vick, that's 15 years ago that happened, or 13 years ago or something. Significantly different atmosphere and culture. And I think that, if Deshaun did do this, it's going to be multiple years that he's missing, at least 1 full year.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. We'll move on to a brighter topic. Who did they pick first round? The Texans.
We didn't have a first or second round pick. Oh my God, a brighter topic.
You didn't have a first or second round pick? Guys, I did not mean that as like a slight at all. I literally thought they had a first round pick.
It's all right. They traded it for Laramie Tunzel. A lot of people don't like it, but I like Tunzel, but it's fine. So our first pick was third round pick. And a lot of pundits think we got a steal there at Davis Mills, quarterback from Stanford. He was the next highest rated quarterback outside of that top group. I think he may even been a higher rated quarterback than Kyle Trask, who the Bucs took in the second round. But don't quote me on that. But I like that. Look, it's clear to me. I like thinking high level, organizational level decisions and moves. And it's very clear they're saying we're going to move on from Deshaun. Let's just go through this rebuild and, let's see what we can get. So they brought in Tyrod Taylor to play for a year. They got Davis Mills to plug in, see if he can do something. I like it. Take a 3rd round quarterback, just see if it works.
I got you. Are you pulling for a team in the NBA playoffs, or do you not really care?
I was pulling for your Mavericks.
Oh, okay.
At this point, I guess the Hawks, and I think I've seen some of this in chat too, and shout out to everybody who said this. I saw a few people say it. I want to see youth. I want to see youth in the playoffs. It's time for us to move on from the LeBron era. It's time to even the KD era. I mean, people aren't fans of him. I think a little bit of youth winning would be good, but the problem is the NBA playoffs is it's a grown man's time to play basketball. So usually vets win.
I agree. I think that as much as the Nets are just so unappealing for me anyway, I know there's Nets fans out there, but I don't see anyone beating them though. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, I don't know, but I think it'd be great for the NBA to see, kind of that next level, kind of one of these young guys get breakthrough and win, or I don't know, or take the next Nets to Game 7 or something in the finals. Some sort of historic game-winning shots or whatever. Like the NBA needs some excitement. I feel like after a whole season of just kind of like half the guys are sitting out, half the guys are, whether they're injured or just taking time or whatever. I mean, it was a pretty boring season, frankly. And so, I mean, the playoffs, I just hope they kind of end with a bang and, there's some positives. We'll see.
I'd like to see the Suns. I think Chris Paul winning would be good. I think he deserves a ring. And then, of course, all the youth there. And you're Devin Booker. Hey, you probably did well on that. And for everybody in chat, Chris Paul, Bowman Chrome rookie. Go check it out. It's a good deal right now.
Yeah, Chris Paul, he's always been a great regular season player, and then just things haven't worked out in the postseason, right? That's kind of been his MO, unfortunately. Flipping Steve. I know, Steve, we're kind of due for a live stream. I feel like we talk so much, though, that we should probably, that's why we don't do live streams as much, but we should do one. Should definitely do one again sometime soon. Nets, Jets, Mets. Why do they all rhyme?
That's
Fair
pretty
enough.
good. I never noticed that. Very good, Michael.
Fair enough. Thumbs up for the host. That'd be awesome. Appreciate that, Ziggy. Suns versus Hawks, 2 young teams. That would be cool. I mean, just something different. Just give us something different.
Go down to Global Sports Card Investor. It's a good question.
Injury prone is C3. Okay, got you. Yeah. Which NBA players do you see getting the most love at the next card show? Which card show are we referring to, Alex?
It has to be the
Philly?
Dallas and the Atlanta, right? Or the Phillies this weekend, right?
Yeah. I don't think Carson Wentz cards are going to be selling well in Philly this weekend.
No, I don't think so. NBA players, I don't know. If we said the Dallas show it's 2 weeks before the National, so it's the middle of July. Like the 17th is the same weekend as the Atlanta show. That's going to be a big show weekend. Going to be a lot of hype going to the National too. Is middle of July? Is that post to finals? It's probably post to finals. So which young player? I think Luka's going to see a rise. I think he dipped too hard. I think his prices fell way too low. I think Trae Young, if they win this series, Trae Young's going to be the talk of the town. He's going to be the guy from 2018 who went into 3 rounds of playoffs with a young team at that. So I think Trae Young is probably the one.
Trae Young is such an enigma with cards because he's the one that's still, his team is still in, they're winning. He's playing he's playing well, and his cards are just sitting there. Like they haven't really done much. I haven't bought any, and I kind of wonder about that. I'm like, am I going to look back, in 6 months or a year and be like, that was a great Trae Young time. That was an opportunity. I mean, there's always going to be those times, we're going to always have those moments, but you wonder about Trae Young.
Yeah. Jonas says Tatum. That's a good name too. Tatum's a good one. Tatum's another one. Yeah.
I agree.
Donovan Mitchell could be another one. Northeast Ohio Sports Cards big on Donovan Mitchell. And I've been trying to get into some. Prices are still pretty good. I don't understand how they're pretty good, but they still are really good. So I
think it must be that people just don't believe that the Jazz are going to win. I think, and they're probably just thinking like, once they lose, I'll pick up Mitchell stuff or whatever. Or, that's got to be what it is. Cause it's just that it's got to be the team he's playing on. And yet the Jazz are the number 1 seed,
Yeah.
We'll have to see what they do. I did pick up and I don't own I think that's the only card I own of Mitchell. I picked up an Optic Holo PSA 10 in Dallas, and it was $430. And
wow.
I think the high on that card was, I don't have it in front of me, but maybe like $800 was probably the high for it.
Yeah.
And so that was one where it was like, I love Optic Holos. I didn't think that they had fallen that much. And it was like, that can be my spec play on Donovan Mitchell. I'll take a shot on Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
All right. Where is Ryan? Do you guys have any thoughts on how the National will go? Ryan's going to be with me at the National, helping me look at vintage cards. We're going to be looking at some vintage there. That was one thing I did not see very much of in Dallas. There was vintage in Dallas, but I was surprised at how, like, just in comparison to modern, ultra modern, it was dominated by modern, ultra modern for sure.
Yeah. And, we got to get you into more vintage, Dustin. Vintage is the good route. I hear your oldest NFL card is 1958. We got to get you in before that. A true NFL collector, at least one 1948 card. We got to get you into one of those.
I love it, man. I love all that stuff. I just haven't, there's so many different areas to focus in, and it's like, I've been buying, I'm all over the place. I got starting lineups on my wall. Like, I'm into all sorts of things, but I'm more of like a Bronze Age dude where I've been buying like 70s, 80s. I was buying, Montana rookies, and I've showed them on the channel, but I've got like an Earl Campbell PSAs. I've got a Steve Largent rookie PSA 7, but it was more of like, I wanted to own the card, and a PSA 7 Steve Largent, I think it cost me like $80. It was like, I can get a Steve Largent rookie, which I want. I wasn't necessarily looking to spend, a couple thousand on a 10. It was just more of like, I want to own that card, and that was a kind of an entry point where it was inexpensive.
Yeah. When you go vintage, it's all about eye appeal. I recently bought a 48 Leaf Bobby Lane SGC 1. People think you bought a 1, you're an idiot. That's not what it's about. It's about eye appeal that's going in the collection. It looks great color. It has a bad corner, but bad corners are usually where you can make a lot of, headway in that eye appeal department, because the corners don't stand out that much in those cases. And so you can get away with a bad corner grading a 1, but still have a good looking card in your collection.
I agree with you. And Ryan is really good at looking at raw cards, because he owns a lot of the old raw vintage cards. And so that's a big reason why I want him with me. But I'm with you, man. I mean, I just want an authentic card. I just want to know that it's not trimmed, altered, and it's authentic. That's all I care about. I don't care if it's I don't care if it's a PSA .01. I don't care, man. I just want to know that it's authentic and not a reprint. That's it.
Yeah, Ryan says he's trying to get you into some 33 Gaudis. I would love some 33. As far as I know, that's the actual first year football was printed. 35 Chicles, the first football specific set, and then 48 is when football really starts. And 48, that's a good year to start. So what I did was I Googled 1950s NFL, all decade team. And then I read about these guys. I was like, this guy seems cool. This guy seems cool. Sammy Ball, people know in the chat here, they're talking about him. That's a guy I'm chasing. Bobby Lane, the guy I mentioned earlier, he's a fun story. We're getting close to, we talked, if you remember, I'm sure you do, the curse of the White Sox and the curse of, the great Bambino and the Red Sox. We're getting in the GOAT for the Cubs. We're getting really close to people talking about the Bobby Lane century mark. When they let him go trade, I think they traded him. When they traded him, he cursed them for 50 years. But Bobby Lane, the overachiever that he is, he's cursed him for about 60 years now. So that curse still continues to go. So, yeah. And then he gets traded to the Steelers, and he starts a great runs of the Steelers, and that turns into Terry Bradshaw, and that turns into the Steelers that we all know. So he really starts as a quarterback, that Steelers dynasty that we all kind of know.
Interesting. I know. I'm loving learning all the historical stuff. And that's where, like, baseball cards don't interest me. But like modern, ultra modern baseball cards don't interest me, but vintage stuff really does, because of the historical appeal. I've been looking at Babe Ruth stuff. I've been looking at all sorts of stuff. Mantle, and, just a lot of, there's so many options too. I mean, there's a lot of different oddball cards for those players that are not well known, different tobacco cards and different. I mean, there's just so many areas to learn. It's awesome. Are you going to the National?
I am not. Yeah. Neo, Northeast Ohio. He was trying to get me on, and I was really close, but my wife's going to be like 7.5 months pregnant then.
Oh yeah.
It's just not, it's unfortunately not good timing. She really wants to go. We got good friends in Chicago. I mean, we almost booked tickets, but I think she might actually be too pregnant to fly. So we're not going to go.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. My wife and I are treating it more. This will be you actually in a few years. My wife and I are treating it more like date weekend. Where we can just because we don't, we're usually with the kids all the time, and it can be a way to kind of get away. You'll know what I'm talking about in 4 or 5 years. You'll get it. But no, it's awesome, but it's also good to get a little bit of a break too.
Yeah. And just to answer Ryan's question, I think it's going to be insane. I think it's going to be I really do think this show will be the pinnacle of card shows in the past or in the future. I don't think there will be another show this big. I think the anticipation for this show is through the roof. So? It's going to be bigger than any show. I don't think the National next year will be bigger than this National. I would be shocked if it is. If it is, that's great for the hobby. I would just be shocked.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to a show this big, although, and I talk about it on the channel too. I mean, in 1990, you could literally walk into like the mall, like when people used to actually go to malls, and there was massive shows within the mall. I mean, it was literally like tables, and maybe they still had that in 2000 when you were collecting too. Maybe they were still, I don't know, but literally like tables and tables and tables lined of sports memorabilia and cards and everything else. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I need to get a focus on what I'm trying to do there. I think that's going to be, because here's where I think a lot of people probably have this issue is that when I walked into Dallas, I had a plan, but then there was cards that I had not seen before, kind of stuff that doesn't really pop up in the wild very much. Mm-hmm. Like that Booker card that I ended up getting. I had zero plans to buy that card at all, and just saw it, noticed it, talked it through, all of that, and ended up getting it. But I think that's going to happen too at the National, where you just have so many options. I need to kind of be ready and have a really solid plan and stick to it, and just kind of, accept. And the other thing too is what's pricing going to look like as far as like where the dealer's going to have their pricing. Is it going to be below comp, at comp, higher? Like you mentioned that the Acuna card that was $280, $290, and people had it for $500. Is that going to be the National? There's probably so many dealers there that there's going to be deals at the National, and then there's going to be tables that are not going to have deals, and that's a card show. That's how it always goes. So yeah, I mean, all that stuff is going to be really fun to see.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I look forward to seeing your content on it.
It's not going to be the vlog style from Dallas. I'm not going to have my cameraman. I'm not going to put my wife through that too. Like, hey babe, can we please get the camera rolling now? It's going to be, I'll probably do little like, snippets and stuff. I was thinking about doing, I thought it'd be kind of funny to have her take on, throw her in, kind of have her take on whatever that we saw. I thought that'd be kind of comical. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm actually curious to see if she's going to be bored after the first 5 minutes, or if she's going to be like into it. We'll see. We'll see.
I would guess bored, but
yeah. You are probably right. You might not be, but you're probably right. She'll help me find like, she'll be like, oh, Bree stuff or this or that or whatever, Saint stuff. No, it'll be good. What's up, Randy? Archie, Peyton, Eli, and is that for real at the National? Is that what you're talking about, New?
Oh, really?
That would actually be
way.
Pretty
awesome.
He's
still in high school, right? No, he's still in high school. Archie's junior.
Oh, Arch. Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, Arch. I saw some sort of highlight of him throwing like a 70-yard touchdown pass in practice or something. That kid's going to be so hyped up coming out. He's going to make Trevor Lawrence look like child's play as far as hype goes. Like he's going to be like, it's going to be insane when that kid comes out.
Yeah, I agree. And New, you had asked earlier what I plan to do with that Breeze. It's already listed on eBay. So that's
is it really?
Yeah.
Any sort of content buddy discount for that one?
Yeah, we can do something.
I've got. I'll do the usual. You want to trade? I'll trade you 1,000. Mason Rudolph and Ryan Finley rookie cards.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I know. I joke about Mason Rudolph and Ryan Finley, and I just can't wait for them to just get into the game and break out, and have like an MVP season.
Oh my goodness, never gonna happen. But my goodness, Ryan Finley. You know who Ryan Finley's on?
Is he with the Bengals? Oh, he's with the Texans now.
Yeah, they signed him. We signed about 7 quarterbacks this offseason, and I'm not exaggerating. Actually, 7 quarterbacks, and Ryan Finley was one of them. They may have cut him last week, actually, so not looking good.
That's funny. You know what the thing is? I feel like the NFL is so QB rich right now. if you compare it to like the rest of history, like when has there been a season when you go into the season with this much QB talent, like top to bottom in the league? And I'm talking about like, there's literally like third string, like a Ryan Finley was not like a terrible QB coming out of school. He went to NC State, which is a big QB school. He's like prototypical size, I mean, like he's not, and even like, I know Mason Rudolph has whatever, but like go back to 89 with like Troy Aikman, number one overall pick. It took the guy like 3 years to like get going. I mean, the guys had so much more time back then, to develop.
It's something I've talked about a little bit. It's something in my head. Again, I like to talk sports cards. I have a sports cards channel, but I talk about sports because they overlap.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, football is headed to quarterback parity. We might even be at it now where there are more starting caliber level quarterbacks than there are starting caliber quarterback jobs in the NFL. There may be more than 32 starting caliber quarterbacks. To your point, is what you're saying. And then these young guys. Every year, you've got 4 or 5 young guys coming out in the first round, 3 or 4 working, which is 3 times the hit rate that we saw in the early 80s and 90s, hell, any time before now. And a big reason for that is guys, they play 7-on-7. When before a guy goes in the NFL, he's maybe got 2,000 throws on his arm, let's just say. But now the guys have 10,000 throws, 10,000 times going through reads. They're much more pro ready, and offenses at the pro level are much more willing to adapt to college ball and play a faster style offense. And so it's just, you've got all these young guys coming in and working, except for Jordan Love, the Packers suck. And then you've got the offense willing to take it, and then you've got the old guys playing way longer. Breeze played till 42, whatever. Brady's going to play till 50. These guys are playing for forever. You just have, next couple of years, I think we get to the point where there's legitimately 40 to 45 starting caliber quarterbacks in the NFL.
I kind of wonder if you think about like, how has this happened and why has it happened that way? And you think about all the running QBs and just kind of those the Russell Wilson prototypes that we now have in the NFL. There's so many of them, but I was just thinking, like, while you were talking, I wonder if just like at the high school, like middle school, high school level, with how much the league does. And I saw someone in here mention it as well in the chat, but the way the league is protecting QBs nowadays, compared to how they did in the 80s and the 90s and previous to that, even those guys are like true warriors, really. But, I just wonder if there's such an emphasis on those athletes, like, oh, you're an athlete, you're a really good athlete. Well, you should go for quarterback because it pays really well, and they're protecting them in the NFL. So you want to be a QB. And I just wonder if they're like over the last like 10, 15, 20 years, there's just been more of a push with kind of all that QB money, out there. It's like, oh, a kid wants to play football. Well, make sure he's the quarterback, figure out a way he can play quarterback.
Yeah. I think if you could like scale it out, like, hey, your kid's a great athlete. What should they do? Number 1's basketball. Number 2's NFL quarterback. Number 3's NFL wide receiver now. Number 4's baseball. And number 5's the rest of football we didn't just mention, right? That's kind of how it is now. And it's a mix of money and ease, right? So.
Yeah. Dex kind of nailed it to where, it used to be the AP was the star. Like everyone wanted to be the running back. Everyone wanted to get the ball. Now you've got the concussions, you've got the torn ACLs, you've got all the lower body injuries. And it's like, now it's just, and the game has changed. Now it's a passing league and it's totally, totally different.
Derrick Henry might be on that list, but if we are running out quickly.
Yeah. Derrick Henry is such a beast. I'm excited for the USFL, and I don't know. And I like these alternate leagues. I wish that one would actually hold up, catch on, not necessarily as like a competitor to the NFL, but like the spring football league, because it would be awesome, I think, to be able to root for a team in the spring, kind of like year-round football, but it's actually competitive, and it can, because think about all the guys. Think about the guys that were great coming out of college, or, the number 1 high school prospect that went into college, but then had injuries throughout. They didn't get drafted or whatever. They don't make an NFL team, but they're still very talented. There's got to be plenty of those guys out there to fill those USFL rosters. I hope that they can do that. And maybe it's a feeder to the NFL as kind of like, an alternate, league, but it would also be cool if they could pay those guys, if there's enough money behind it to where you had kind of two leagues for each season.
Yeah. I just read Art of the Deal actually, and, a little bit of insight to the USFL.
Yeah.
I was really optimistic about the XFL relaunch. And after it failed, obviously COVID was bad, but it had bad numbers anyway. I've come to the conclusion, again, after reading Trump, he talks about it a lot. Then are the deals written around this whole time the USFL is going down? Actually, right after it went down. And to me, I think that if you had a second football league, a feeder league won't work. The American people don't want to watch football in the spring. And if they did, we'd have football in the spring. But it doesn't work for a reason. I think they have to be a competitor. The XFL, the USFL, excuse me, what they did and did well was they took talent. And I saw somebody mention the USFL cards earlier. I would love to buy them, but they're a little expensive in my opinion. Steve Young, Herschel Walker, Reggie White, Jim Kelly, Doug Flutie. They got all these big name college guys to come in, play football for them. It drove up their brand value. Unfortunately, they went against the Shield, and the Shield won in the courts. That was a little bit of a joke, I think, but that is what happened. So I do think they actually have to be a competitor. And I 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. But after seeing it, you look back, the history of spring football is failure. So I don't know if it's going to work.
I'm with you. Well, no, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it's an uphill battle to make it work. There's just so much money. They've got to raise an absolute ton of money, manage it properly, be able to pay guys. I mean, it's a huge undertaking for sure. But I feel like with how much money the NFL makes, there's going to be people trying, and the USFL actually has some name recognition, with guys that are, if you think about like the guys that watch our channels, and it might be different for you, but it's a lot of 35 to 45 males is really like the majority of the viewership. And that falls into that USFL kind of, that group, guys that remember those. And I'm not saying that, I mean, I was 3 in 1984, I wasn't watching USFL as a kid or anything, but I remember it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's got some nostalgia, some name recognition, behind it. I wish it would do something.
Yeah. And well, people asking about what happened to the USFL, they wanted to play football in the fall. And then they basically sued, saying that antitrust lawsuit against the NFL and all the cable networks because they all had exclusive rights with the NFL. And then the court awarded the USFL. They said, you were right. They are, in violation, and they awarded them $1. And that's what broke the USFL. So Sam Mills USFL rookie card. That's awesome, Flippin' Steve. That's a good one.
Rest in peace, Sam Mills. Yeah. He was part of the Dome Patrol, and then he went to the Panthers. But, man, Sam Mills was an animal in the middle. Legend. Yeah, he was so awesome.
Arena League, Kurt Warner. That worked out. Yeah, Lucas says that. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Any plans? Is Brad in the chat? I hope he's not. He was not invited. Any plans at the National to do a $500 challenge, Steve and Brad? Oh, maybe he meant to say Dustin. Chat decides who did the best with their money. Maybe that's an idea. I mean, I guess we could. That's a thought. I mean, we could definitely look at it.
That would be fun. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of share the buys or whatever, and you guys can say that I did better than definitely Brad. Steve probably not, but definitely Brad. You guys should open 2017 wax.
Yeah, let me get this box of Optic.
I'm not Nat Turner, okay? Like Nat Turner, I've seen this interview where he pulls out like wax. It's like 10 grand a box, and everyone's like salivating. It's like, and that's just like one box on his wall. That dude's collection is out of this world. Maybe we can get Neo involved in that and something like that too. That'd be kind of fun. And that would be kind of a fun live stream to do while at the National. Maybe we could do it like from the National. That's the sort of content I'll probably be doing, stuff like that with some of the guys. We'll see. I'll talk with them about it too.
That'd be fun, like a 30-minute challenge or something. Who could spend the best $500 in 30 minutes or an hour, whatever. I don't know. That'd be good.
Yeah, Ziggy already blocked Brad, so we're good. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see. The Nat Turner interview was great. Yeah, Jeremy Lee on Sportscards Live had a really good interview with him. Nat Turner's been making the rounds. But yeah, that was a really good interview a couple of nights ago, or maybe this past weekend. Just kind of going through, giving an update on PSA stuff. I thought that it was really interesting. For sure. Guys, throw any questions you have into the chat for Dakota. If you have not been to his channel yet, Sports Cards Anonymous, I'm sure you have been, but if you've not, definitely check out his channel. He puts out almost daily content, and it's really good stuff. I like your take. I enjoy your take and your humor. It's different. So yeah, it's awesome. I think it's funny because I I can listen to very similar content, but I like hearing different takes, different production. We're each throwing our own thing or whatever. I'm throwing up stupid Jim Carrey clips in mine, and other guys have that. It's like all that's really fun for me.
Yeah, you have that clip humor. You tend to start with some sort of clip. Yeah, that's good. I mean,
Throw a
you're
clip
right.
in
They're
there.
all unique. So yeah.
Knows I'm a shrewd negotiator, but he has those. The 20 minutes of awkward silence. Yeah, the way to get a deal is to stare at the dealer for 15 minutes and just make them so uncomfortable that they're just like, you know what, man? If you could just, just take it, man. Just take it. Take it, weirdo.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Ziggy's got a question. Why did you choose the name Sportscards Anonymous? Was there something behind that, or
I had no idea.
You can also pass. You can also pass.
I had no idea what to pick. And I was just sitting here and my wife helped me brainstorm, and I didn't want to go so small. I wanted it to be sports cards at broad. And I was like, look, people say I have a problem. Everyone thinks we got a problem. So Alcohol's Anonymous, we got Sports Cards Anonymous, come to my channel if you need help. So there you go.
Appreciate that, Lucas. You guys rock, super informative. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely, man. We try to throw in some humor there too, so it's not just the same old the news. Ziggy loves the name.
Thank you, Ziggy. Yeah,
the purple shirt is a PSA 10. Where'd you get that shirt? Where'd you get that?
I'm not gonna tell, man, because everyone's gonna go buy it.
I'm like, oh, I'm just curious. Where'd you get it? And then like tomorrow night, I'm wearing it. You're like, dude, what the hell?
I thought about I haven't done merch yet. I mean, I'm way too small, but I thought about putting a logo on here, like purple shirt or something. And I was like, that would be cool. Well, I can sell it. Not for anything crazy, just fun.
This is a baseball question that I don't have the answer to. I'm not a baseball guy, but Dakota, do you have a take on the White Sox injured players?
I'm not aware of Eloy coming back anytime soon. I thought he was out for the year. Now, Lou Bob is going to be back before the playoffs, and they still look like they're going to make the playoffs. I am actively buying Lou Bob because I think his stuff's way too low.
Okay, Lou Bob. Ziggy wants to know, again, you can pass. Personal question, do you have any baby names?
I'm very open, right? I started my channel for discourse and discussion. So Eleanor, we're going with Eleanor. We're naming her. It's a girl, so Eleanor.
Nice. Awesome. Is it a family name or is it
I'm a sucker for older names. I knew I wanted a historical name, Roosevelt, Kennedy, stuff like that. Yeah, and my wife came up with Eleanor. Perfect. I also like more formal names because I feel like you can always give them nicknames if they want to go less formal, but you can't name them something informal and then I'm going to go by something much more formal. Like, that's hard to do. So Eleanor, she can go by El, Nor, whatever she wants to go by. So
to show how big of a Saints fan I am, my daughter's middle name is Nola. For New Orleans, Louisiana. That's how deep it gets.
I don't know how you convinced the missus of that, but congrats.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the first name is kind of an Italian name from her family that she tied together, and then that middle name is Nola. So
I got you. You said so. I know you're going to use a family name, but since you got to pick the first name, I get to pick some ridiculousness stuff for the middle name. And she said, "Okay, fair."
That's right. She loves New Orleans too, so it kind of worked. At least it wasn't something. Yeah, at least it wasn't something totally off the wall, like Baltimore. I want to name her Baltimore, or something, whatever. Or Delaware, right, Steve? Her middle name will be Delaware.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All right. Neo says, get into comic books. I feel like that's such like you're either into it or you're not. I get it.
I didn't grow up with it. I've told Neo this before. Like, the stuff that interests me is actually DC. I like Batman stuff. I've always been a Batman fan. And I've looked at some of the Batman stuff. I still think A Death in the Family, it's a 4-part series. I think that's really cheap. Obviously, I've done a little bit of research because I don't know jack about comics, but I know that. And it's a 4-part series where Robin dies. And to me, it's a pretty classic series. So that's something I've looked at. But other than that, I don't have a ton of interest in comics. Sorry, Neo.
One thing, so just being that you're a vintage guy, I've been looking at vintage books, but because Marvel's so hot right now with all the movies and DC movies are kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
There's some I was looking at one, for example, I don't remember the issue. I can send it to you. I'll send it to you just so you can look at it. But it's basically the first Riddler appearance in Silver Age. So it's like a 1965 book, maybe.
Sure.
But it's pretty cool cover, but it is a first appearance of the Riddler, but the Silver Age. So it's not But there's honestly, like, I was looking, even tonight, I was putting my son to bed and I was looking at a Superman book, and it was from March of 1945. And it's graded, and it's not, it was $400 or $500, which, I mean, they're not giving them away by any stretch, but I was just thinking, like, that's pretty cool, just with the whole, like, World War II, and a lot of the older comic books are tied around World War II. If you look at, like, 1939 books up to, into the early 40s, there's a lot of that in there. It's just interesting, because there's that historical aspect to it.
Yeah, I think that anyone looking at vintage stuff, it's part of American history. That's why I like vintage, the 50s and 40s football so much. And then I got really lucky. I went to a small show here in San Antonio, and I found this card. It's 1936 Jesse Owens, and the guy wanted 120. It was a PSA 5, and it looked beautiful to me. I was like, $120. When he said the price, I knew I was going to buy it. I was just like, I don't know. I don't even want to know comps. I buy it. Comps were 280, 250. I'm like, okay, I did well on this. And then I looked at it a little bit more. This was printed in Germany. Color on it's beautiful, beautiful card. I don't know how it got a 5, man. I really don't know how it got a 5. And I'm just like, for $120, I mean, this is like a historical piece, It was printed in Germany, just celebrating Jesse Owens winning at the Olympics held in Nazi Germany. So it's pretty wild.
That is awesome. That is really cool. I think I remember seeing that on your channel. I think you had showed that on one of your videos, and I remember that. Like a mail day, and this was like your favorite card from the mail day, and it was something different. And yeah, that's awesome. Michael, you are my spirit animal talking about Spawn. I saw another guy talking about Spawn. That was what I like, the early Image comic books. That was my thing, the Youngblood Spawn stuff. When Todd McFarlane rolled out of Marvel and those guys started Image, that was, of course, that was like junk wax comic books too. But it was so awesome back then. I used to get the Wizard magazines, and that was like the price guide. And I don't know. I hear you. All about the Spawn.
Yeah, so people asking about the ONG. Ryan, I'm not sure if it's the Ogdens. I don't remember now. I bought that card, and then immediately we decided, we're moving, and I've moved a lot of my stuff to Houston at my mom's house already, so that's actually there right now. I don't remember what card set it is. It's printed in German though, so.
Okay, sweet. Never read. Yeah, please make a Spawn movie. Like, they made a Spawn movie in the 90s that was okay, not great. But man, like, just with technology you have, what's weird though? Like, I watched the new Mortal Kombat movie, and I actually like the 90s Mortal Kombat movie better than the new one. So like part of me is like, oh, we have this new technology, like make a new Spawn movie. But then I'm like, if it's just, like they can also still screw it up. The storyline is so good with Spawn that it's like, just put it together properly, and it'll be so good. I mean, the story is amazing. It's really, really good. All right, guys. Go ahead, Dakota.
Well, I saw one question up there I thought was pretty good, and it was from Lucas, and they said, what's your dream PC pickup?
Oh, I missed that. Where did he put that?
That was a while up there, but that's a hard question. I would say I guess I just dream small. I really want a 1996 Topps Chrome Refractor Jeff Bagwell. Early in my channel. I mean, way too early. It was really hard for me to make this video. I did the history of chromium cards. 96 Topps Finest. I'm a big Topps fan, or Topps Chrome, excuse me, a big Topps fan. 96 Topps Chrome's the first year of Topps Chrome. I'm a big Bagwell fan, so I want a Bagwell Topps Chrome Refractor. I just haven't found a price. Literally an $80 card. I haven't found a price I'm comfortable with yet, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just feel like people are over asking. I'm like, that's a small market. I'm not going to pay $80. And it's a $20 card, just cheapskate in me.
Bagwell was, man, he was a machine. I remember him back in the day. I remember, collecting some of his cards back in the day. And also, I think he was on like, I got one of these new like retro video game, arcade game things. And there's RBI Baseball as a game I used to play on the Nintendo. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Bagwell's on that game, or he's on one of the later versions of it. But yeah, he was such a beast. Yeah, his stance. That's right. Yeah, Dex's stance was awesome.
Yeah, iconic stance. Yeah, I don't have it handy, but yeah. I mean, I'm from Houston. You grew up. So Bagwell has that iconic stance. I think it's iconic. And so people would imitate it. But BGO, people not out of Houston probably don't remember this. But BGO had an iconic leg kick. He'd bring his leg up to his chest. He
was the catcher. Was he the catcher?
He was a catcher at first. Here's a fun history trivia for you. He was an all-star at catcher where he started, all-star at second baseman. That's where he got inducted in the Hall of Fame as, and an all-star at center fielder where he ended his career. So,
okay. Do you have Bagwell rookie cards? Or
they're dirt cheap. That's nothing. It's dirt cheap.
Yeah. What year was his rookie?
19. Oh my goodness. Don't give me, it's 91. I haven't bought one in forever because I bought them all forever ago, but I believe it's 91. And they're just all dirt cheap. It's all junk wax era stuff. Like there's not a premier one, right?
They're everywhere.
Maybe there's a Desert Shield of his. I don't think he has a desert. Maybe he has a Desert Shield Topps rookie. And if he does, that would be the premier. If not, probably Topps Tiffany, but that would be it.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap. We're at an hour and 5 minutes, but thanks to everybody for joining. If you have not checked out Dakota's channel, Sports Cards Anonymous, definitely go and subscribe. It's awesome stuff. I watch it pretty much every morning. I've got it in the background. I watch it all the time. So very, very good stuff. And so, yeah, definitely check it out. Dakota, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And we'll definitely be staying in touch for another live coming up down the line.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate it, all y'all.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.